Hi everyone, welcome to Board of Tanks with stewiejp. I'm Stewie and this is the Tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, the OI Experimental. Being driven by Flying Elite from Amiga Clan, and unlike a lot of replays where people do well, they often do well because they're top tier, but this is certainly not the case in this game. The Flying Elite's in a Tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, which is the size of a house. Have a look at it. It's absolutely enormous, but it's not all about the size, they say. He's platooning with his old mate Mr. Unicum from PB CAC and Thumphammer, probably one of the best in-game names I've ever seen in my life. They're all in Tier 5s. Mr. Unicum and the Thumphammer are both driving little T-67 American tank destroyers, and the Flying Elite is brought out the tank the size of a house, the Tier 5 Japanese heavy tank, the OI Experimental. You can see it's pretty slow, but he's getting to where he needs to be as quick as he can. I haven't done any low tier videos for a while, so when the Flying Elite sent me this one, I thought, oh, this could be worth a bit of a laugh. We'll just see what he's going to do. See if that Skoda pokes. He does! 328 damage. That's not a bad amount of alpha damage for a Tier 5 tank. The only Tier 5 heavy tank I ever plays is the KV220, which I think it does about 100 damage a shot, but it has got quite a quick firing gun. He gets another shot into the T34-100, which is a Tier 7 Czech tank. And driving this big heavy tank, the Flying Elite would be absolutely rubbing his hands together because there's no artillery. If any artillery players are ever in a game and if they see one of these big Japanese bricks floating around, that's what they aim at, because it's pretty hard to miss. So the Flying Elite's moving around the corner with the KV2, another big derpy tank that I still haven't bought. I might buy one soon. He's just encroaching around this corner, and no great surprise, the Tiger's there on the enemy side. I wouldn't be surprised if the Black Prince isn't there as well. He was last spotted heading in that direction, but he does have the backup of the two top tier heavy tanks who are also platooned, the IS and the T29, which it looks like they've stopped. Why would you stop when you're a top tier heavy tank, when you've got a Tier 5 leading the charge with a KV2? Anyway, Thumphammer and Mr. Unicum, they're camping the base in their little TDs, searching for some cheap damage. They're probably looking at that AMX ELC, looking at the minimap. The Flying Elite is right in the thick of the action here. He knows these tanks are going to be there, but those Tier 7s just aren't going to move. I'd be very tempted to put a shell into the side of one of those Tier 7 heavy tanks. They've got no artillery to worry about. They do have the armour. They need to move forward, but it looks like they are now. But the Flying Elite's already seen what's on the mini-map. He's seen all these tanks that were last spotted around this donut, and they've already taken out one of his mates. He wants to get back and try and help them, make sure that those tank destroyers don't get overrun and don't lose to a cat. Very handy, 260 odd damage into the side of that Panther, and he reloads again and takes him out of the game. See how slow the shell flies though in these Japanese tanks. It's almost like a lob, like a slow, when you hit a tennis ball slowly with a tennis racket. It's a good thing that the Flying Elite's come back around this way, because his 700 hit points weren't going to last very long against the Tiger and the Black Prince, and those two top tier heavy tanks are still sitting back down here. I have no idea what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but you'd think that they probably should be the ones engaging the Black Prince and the Tiger down in the heavy lane rather than the Tier 6 KV2, but it's been evened up again. The SU-12244 takes out one of the enemy T-67s. So it's 6 apiece, but then Mr. Unicum goes down. So the Flying Elite is the only bloke left in this platoon. He's going to have a look over this hill just to see if he can spot these medium tanks, which is a pretty brave thing to do, since at least both of those medium, not the type, one of the medium tanks is full two tiers higher than him, so he needs to be pretty careful. Somehow the IS picks up a kill on the other side of the map, and it's even up again at 7 apiece. But where the Flying Elite's moving to now, that's where the rest of the action is probably going to happen. It looks like it's just a Tiger and an AMX-12T left on the other side of the map. Looks like most of the enemy tanks are back on the western side. KV2 gets taken out, possibly due to the lack of support. And here are those enemy tanks, and it's time for the Flying Elite to start doing some damage. I'm making this video interesting. He's got a nice shot on that Churchill there. It looks like that shell was went a little bit wide. The Challenger takes him out of the game. He's already picked up 929 damage. But I think he's about to pick up some more. He's found the M4. So that's easy damage, that one. Put him out of his misery anyway. Probably did him a favour. And the T-34-100 looks like he's got his sights set on something else, and he gets taken out by the T-29, who's finally come round that corner. T-34 puts a shot into the Flying Elite's OI experimental, but the Challenger gets rid of him, and now it just leaves the OI down on this side. And see how long that shell took to get to that AMX-12T. It took an eternity. It seemed like an hour. It was just massive. Maybe not an hour. Who knows? But it's been a slow trundle around the map for the Flying Elite. But he's now waiting for the last shot. Should be the kill shot. Auto aims. Leaves him on 25 hit points. And is he going to do a kamikaze? He looks like he is. Looks like he might be trying to kill himself. Does he kill himself? No, the shot just didn't land anywhere near him. He actually survived that fall. I thought he was trying to kill himself. But the T-29 puts him out of the misery. And in the end, a comfortable win. 15-9. As you look at the post-game battle results, it was a bit of a slow game for the Flying Elite in his OI experimental, but for the big, slow, massive Japanese heavy, it's enough to get an ace tanker, which is what the game's about. Nothing wrong with picking up an ace tanker, especially when you're bottom tier. I don't think there are any tier 4s in that game, but bottom tier heavy tank, tier 5 heavy tank in a tier 7 game is always going to be challenging. That T-29 actually did end up doing a fair amount of damage, but it just seemed to be going so slow. Flying Elite, massive game for tier 5, 2,045 damage, 2 kills, 1,144 base experience, and you can see he fired 12 shots, 8 of them did damage, and that was enough for an ace tanker. And not a 10,000 profits, okay, I guess, for a tank that's not a premium tank at all. But he's aced it on Cliff in the OI experimental. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the replay, Flying Elite. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.